can see my green shirt on TikTok. A ghost on the other one. Yeah, I am. Oops. Should I change my shirt?
No, you're fine.
Hello. How's everyone doing? Yeah, I'm wearing magic clothing today. Yeah. It looks kind of weird, but oh well. But sorry we were late. We had some things to deal with. But we didn't cancel, so. Yeah, invisibility shirt instead of a cloak.
Kayla says, hi, hello pretty lady.
Hello, Kayla, how are you? Welcome in. I will try to just dive into reading as soon as we give people a chance to get in here. So we can maximize on the time since it's already late. Nico Hulkenberg got third today on what? Is it a sports thing?
Formula 1.
Oh, car racing?
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Is that your favorite? What are you doing? I got the little baby on my lap. Boo was here, and then the little one jumped up here and accidentally stepped on him, so Boo got upset and left.
Kayla says, I'm good. A tad sunburnt down my neck and the top of my thighs. I fell asleep outside here in the drizzle.
Oh no. Don't do that. That's dangerous. That could have been bad. Make sure you put some aloe on there.
Yeah, Matty, probably not the best idea to do anything all night except for sleep.
I mean, 15 years is a long time and to finally make it, so good for him.
Mom,
Yes, baby.
is
What?
it okay if I play Night Rain? Use my 2 hours. Start a timer.
Not if you're loud.
Huh?
Not if you're loud.
He will definitely be loud.
I mean, if I don't play with my friends, I won't be loud.
You're not gonna play with your friends?
No. Well, I mean, I can. It's just I wouldn't talk to them.
Okay. Alrighty.
I can listen to them and then chat to them.
Everett quiet? Yeah, what? That never happened. So I finally found my actual books. It's one of the ones I need to replace because it does have mold and water damage. I lost a bunch of books because of that.
So I don't know if you can see, but the TikTok chat appears here.
Yes. Tired and floating in the pool, yep. You had a hot on your face, at least there's that. But it's still not safe. Don't do that. If Everett is quiet, I'm a mute, yeah. You're way more talkative than Everett is, though. But he is loud.
Is he Everett's just
Boo-boo.
loud? He's not very
Boo-boo.
talkative, he's just very loud.
Come back. Come in. Come in. The baby has settled. Just come back up here. He just looked at me and then skulked away. He's such a brat.
Bear and Mary Beth have dropped in over on Facebook.
I don't have the Facebook.
Yeah, I think I'm
Oh,
gonna
I see. Will it show up in the,
It's not going to. I'm gonna switch these two around.
Castle.
I'm gonna bring this.
Sir,
Yeah.
could you hastily just press the power button on the TV?
Okay, yeah, I see Bear. And Mary Beth is in there too?
Yes.
Hello, Mary Beth.
Actually, no, this needs to stay up here. I'll move TikTok down.
Sure.
Hang on, bud.
Okay, not bad.
Okay. Can you still see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Kayla, I'll send you some roses too.
Oh, thank you for the roses. It's so little.
Oh, thank you. My What the What shirt. Guys, seeing me outside of Tavern Garb, I forgot.
Yeah, whoops. It's breaking the magic. And then here I was putting on a shirt not realizing that the green was going to be an issue, so can't really criticize.
It's actively creating more.
The router thing is helping. Thank you so much, Erin. We really appreciate you for doing that. It was a very pleasant surprise. So I'm thinking we'll be more stable than we have been. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. We're on chapter 9, by the way. I know it's been a while since we have actually read this story, but Leodin and the other girls are going back to Eamon's and Ashling's home in the marshes. Eamon's home had a real name, the one they put on the maps. It meant the Dark Fortress, but everybody called it Shidúv, as if it were a fairy fort and not the home of a chieftain of Ulster, at least not the human kind. The story went that once long ago the mysterious hill that rose, mist-enshrouded, from the encircling marshlands had been an otherworld residence, peopled by the fair folk, or more likely the older folk, who came before them. Bogles, perhaps, or Cluricons. They were all gone now, fled with the coming of Eamon's ancestors to set up their stamp on this unlikely domain. But the strangeness lingered. There were small peat bogs on our own estate, and on Seamus Redbeard's holdings, providing good turf for the hearth fires. On Eamon's land it was different. Here the marshes were immense, daunting, wreathed in eerie mist, dotted here and there with clumps of oddly misshapen trees, whose roots clung close to the tiny islands amid an ocean of black, sucking ooze. In some places there were stretches of open water, but it was water such as you would never see anywhere else, dark even when the sun shone and coated with an oily sheen. In such an inhospitable landscape, there were few places where dwellings might be safely built. Isolated stretches of higher ground held small settlements, with barn or storehouse in the middle, and the folk living around them on crannogs built over the bog. These little islands, constructed from stones and brushwood with rough wooden palisades to keep out intruders, were linked to dry land by precarious walkways. In warm weather, clouds of insects gathered, and the air was filled with a sweet, decaying smell. Still, folk stayed on as their fathers and their fathers' fathers had done before them. Eamon was a strong leader, and his people were loyal. Besides, they knew no other life. To the north, Eamon had grazing lands and grain fields and other projects of different kinds. Still, he chose to make his home, as his forebears had done, right in the very center of the marshlands. There was a single approach, across a causeway wide enough to take 3 riders abreast, or a heavy cart drawn by an oxen. In its way, Shidúv was even safer than Seven Waters, for this entry could be easily guarded, and no human invader would be foolish enough to attempt an onslaught through the marshes. For this was no mere peat bog. It was a landscape of tricks and treachery. A man might step out to cut turves and load his barrow and be away before sunset, or he might step but one pace to the right or to the left, and be sucked under before he had time to call on the Dagda to deliver him. As Eamon himself had said, it was quite safe if you knew the way. Since the Painted Man had surprised Eamon's warriors, the defenses had clearly been strengthened. This was not my first visit here, but I did not remember the 7 sentry posts between the borders of Eamon's land and the start of the causeway. I did not recall the chained and bolted gates that had closed. The entry required 3 keys to be opened. It was just as well we were traveling with Aisling, who was the lady of this grim house, or even Sean and Eve and I might have turned away. Shidúv was a ring fort, little changed since it was built. It first appeared as a low, rocky hill, shield-shaped, rising from the gloom of the mist-cloaked landscape. Riding across the causeway, trying not to take too much notice of the strange creakings, ploppings, and gurglings arising from the inky water on either side, a traveler would realize that the hill was crowned with a strong, impenetrable fortress of dark stone, concealing all within. Then it became evident that the rocks on the hill were carefully placed, a wall of sharp points laid with great skill and cunning almost all the way around. A horse could never ride up this hill. A man who tried to climb it would be picked off by many arrows before he advanced an arm's length across the jagged circle of stones. The only entrance through this toothed barrier was a heavy, iron-barred door that seemed to open into itself, and was guarded by 2 very large men with axes and 2 huge black dogs in short, tight chains. As we rode closer, the dogs began slavering and growling and showing their teeth. Aisling slipped down from her horse, and she walked casually over, reaching out a slender white hand to pat one on its head. The great creature panted with delight, and the other one whined. "You've done well," she said to the guards. "Now open up and let us in. My brother's orders are to make our guests welcome until he returns. And maintain your vigilance. He wants them safe. He asks, have there been any further sightings of the Fianna, the painted man and his band?" "No, my lady, not a scarrick. They say the fellow's gone over the water, doing a job for some king in foreign parts. That's what they're saying. Nonetheless, maintain the guard. My brother would not forgive me if any ill came to our guests." I thought about Aisling as we were admitted to the long, dim-covered way that dipped down and then rose, spiraling up and around the contour of the hill. She was so sweet and compliant at Seven Waters, yet here she was quite different. In her brother's absence she assumed instant control, and they all obeyed her, little slip of a thing that she was. By the light of the torches flaring in the brackets on the stone walls, I saw Sean grinning as she gave orders. As for Neve, she hadn't said a word since we left Seven Waters. She had bid our parents a stiff goodbye, and I had seen how my mother held back her tears, and how my father was hard put to remain calm before the assembled household. I had seen again how secrets were splitting our family apart, how we began to hurt one another, and I was thinking hard about Connor's tale and what it meant. I was trying not to think about what Finbar had told me. Perhaps you cannot have both. The underground way led ever upward in dark passageways leading off to the right and left, full of shadowy corners and unexpected tricks of the torchlight. I was pleased to emerge into the upper courtyard, where we dismounted at the entry to the main building. The high circular stone wall that blocked our view of the surrounding countryside was topped with a concealed walkway punctuated by guard posts, and many men in green were deployed there, watching, ready. Within the fortress wall was a whole settlement: forge, stables, storehouses, mill and brewery. It was an entire community, going about its business in orderly fashion as if living thus enclosed were not at all out of the ordinary. I allowed my mind to dwell briefly on that thought. If certain events had not prevented me from accepting Eamon's offer of marriage, I might myself have been mistress here in a year or so. I would have needed a powerful incentive to be prepared to live thus, unable to look out over to trees and water, prevented from wandering the forest paths in search of berries or climbing the hill under the young oaks. I would have had to want him very much to agree to that. But then, Neve had not wanted Fian.
Lay down.
She had not wanted to go away from the forest and live in Tyrconnell, but she had gone. My sister had not been given the luxury of a choice. We settled in. Neve overcame her lethargy for long enough to even protest about sharing a bedchamber with me, although she had in fact done so for 16 years without so much as a murmur of complaint. Aisling was not swayed. Everything was organized, she said, and there was no suitable chamber available, except her own, of course, which Neve was welcome to share. Neve looked at me, waiting for me to suggest I would gladly share it with Aisling and allow her to be alone. I said nothing. So Neve fell silent again, frowning and twisting her fingers together. "Maybe an Oonagh is too grand for the likes of me," I said, trying to smile without much success as we went up the stairs to our quarters. The room was spacious through the dark, its single narrow window slit looking down into the courtyard. There were 2 plain bed frames made up with snowy linen and dark woolen blankets. There was a table with a jug of water and a bowl and soft cloths. Everything was immaculately tidy and scrupulously clean. I had noticed green-clad guards at the foot of the stairs and in the upper hallway. "You might like to wash and then rest until supper time," suggested Aisling, who was hovering behind us. "I told them to leave warm water for you. I'm sorry about the guards. Eamon insisted." I thanked her, and she was away again. Sean was still down in the courtyard, deep in discussion with one of our own men. He would not be staying long, for in Liam's absence, he was responsible for Seven Waters and must return home to fulfill his duties there. My father could have handled it quite capably, but although folk liked and trusted the big man, they did not entirely forget that he was a Briton, and so he could never step into Liam's shoes even if he had a mind to. In a way, that was a waste, for if ever a man was cut to be a leader, it was Hugh of Harrowfield. Still, he had chosen his own path. Once the door was closed, I stripped off my outer garments and removed my boots. I poured a little water into the bowl and splashed my face, arms, and hands, glad to remove some of the dust and sweat of the journey. I rummaged through my bags for comb and mirror.
Milu, Gunnar, and Val have all said hello.
Oh, hi, Milu. And we have Val.
Yep, she sent you some beanies.
Oh, thank you for the beanies. How are you doing? I might need to get glasses soon. I probably don't need a lot, but it's kind of hard to read some of that small print now. Your turn, I said, as I sat down on the bed and began to tackle my wind-tangled curls. But my sister had done no more than take off her riding boots. She lay down on her bed, fully dressed, and closed her eyes. You should at least wash your face, I said, and let me comb out your hair for you. And you'll sleep more comfortably if you take that gown off, Neve. Sleep? She said flatly, not opening her eyes. Who said anything about sleep? My hair was a disaster. I'd be lucky to get all the knots out by supper time. I tugged the bone comb through, strand by strand, starting with the ends and working painfully back to the roots. There was indeed something to be said for shaven heads, if one must live out of doors. Neve lay on her back unmoving, breathing slowly, but she was not asleep. Her knuckles were tight and her body tense. Why don't you tell me? I said quietly. I'm your sister, Neve. I can see something's wrong, something worse than just being married and going away. I could help to talk about it. All she did was move a little farther away from me. I went on combing my hair. Sounds drifted in from the courtyard, the movements of horses, men calling, an axe falling on wood, crack, crack. A terrible suspicion was forming in my mind, one I could scarce give credence to. I could not ask her. I closed my eyes, sitting there, and imagined I was my sister, laying quiet in the dim stone room. I felt the softness of the blanket beneath me, the weariness of my body from riding, the heavy bundle of bright hair around my head under the concealing veil. I let myself drift in the quietness of the room. I became my sister. I felt how alone I was, now that I was no longer part of Seven Waters. Now that my mother and father and my uncles and even my sister and brother had thrown me away like a piece of rubbish.
I'll be right back, Lily.
Where are you going?
Just upstairs for just a minute.
Okay. You gonna drink your gross soda?
Do it.
Doing better today? Good. It's been a while since I've read, so I'm a little rusty. Autocorrect always has such disrespect. Indeed it does. That's funny, Maddie. Monahan. Alright. I was worthless. Why else had Kieran, who said he would love me forever, gone away and left me? What Fian said was right. I was a complete disappointment, with no skills as a wife and no aptitude as a lover. Unaccommodating with guests, he said. Incompetent around the house. Unimaginative in bed despite all his efforts to teach me. Altogether a failure. Just as well I was who I was, or there would have been no point to it at all. At least, my husband said, there was the alliance. I felt the aches and pains all over me, the hurt that made it so hard to ride, the damage I must be careful not to show or it would get worse, all of it. I must not let them see how I had failed even at this. If I let nothing show, then somehow it made the bad things less real. If I let nothing out, then I might hold myself together just a little longer. Hades Underworld, welcome. What is that emote? It's like a blue Grogu. Is that what that is? I wrenched myself back, feeling sweat break out all over my body. My heart was racing. Neve lay there unmoving. She was quite unaware that I had seen into her thoughts. I was shaking with outrage. A pox on my Uncle Finbar. I would rather not have known I could do this. I would gladly give this gift back to whoever had bestowed it upon me and be endowed with a practical skill instead, such as the ability to catch fish or to add up numbers in my head. Not this. Not the art of reading people's inner thoughts. Not the understanding of their secret pain. Nobody should be given such a perilous gift. Hi, cat, yeah. Boo decided to get hyper. Well, the kitten is resting now. Grogu sipping soup. That's cute. After a while, I admitted I was being unfair to my uncle. He had been wise to warn me. Besides, this was not the first time. What about that night when Bran had shivered and gripped my arm so tight he came close to breaking it, and I had heard a child cry out not to be left on his own? I had shared his pain, as well as tried to help him. Even after his rejection of me, still I lit my candle. Still I kept my vigil in times of darkness and carried his image in my thoughts. If I had the gift to see those wounds inside, hidden deep, then with it I must have the capacity to heal. The two went together. That much both Mother and Finbar had told me. I would give much never to know the rest of what Neve had in her head behind that empty, closed expression. My imagination conjured up images that made me shudder. But I must know if I were to help her. I love that, the eating popcorn. That's cute. Thank you, Val, for the roses and the beanies. We love you. We appreciate you. So the new cat is Milo. Really? Come here. Come here. What are you doing? Come on. Come on. Yeah. I know I'm a tiny person, so there's not really much room for both of you up here, but you could still come hang out. Such a brat. Come here. Please don't step on the keyboard, you'll probably break something. Come on. What are you doing? Hey Gunnar, how are you? Yeah. Boo's just like, I'm gonna come crash the party. Huh. Yeah. Well, we appreciate it, Val. Hey, Sortalk, how are you? I'm doing good. We were late. We had some family matters to take care of, so there was a unplanned excursion. You just have all of the fun emojis, huh, Hades? Do you have, like, all of the slasher film characters? Alright. He's so hyper now. Some of them. Tread slowly. Tread light as a wren that makes barely a rustle in the leaves of the hazel thicket. Tread softly, I told myself, or she will shatter in pieces and it will be too late. There was time, a moon maybe, until Fian returned with Aemon, and Neve must leave us again. That was long enough for what? I could not imagine, but something. I would find out the truth first, and then I would make a plan. But not so fast that I took my sister over the edge. So when she excused herself straight after supper and fled back upstairs, I gave her some time to be alone. There was only so much a person could take when stretched as thin as she was. The weight of it hung heavily on me, and my thoughts were far away when Sean spoke to me. Aisling had gone out to the kitchens, and my brother and I sat alone over our ale at some distance from the men and women of the household. "I'm leaving in the morning, Leiden," Sean said quietly. "Leiden? Sorry, I wasn't listening." They say women get like that when they're breeding. Fuzzy in the head. Not quite all there. It was the first time he had mentioned the subject, and his tone was light, though his eyes were questioning. "You'll be an uncle," I told him severely. "Uncle Sean? Sounds old, doesn't it?" He grinned, then he was suddenly serious. "I'm not happy about the whole thing. I think I deserve the truth. But I'm under orders not to question you, and I won't. Leiden, I'm riding north tomorrow. I'm not going home, not yet. I'm telling you because I know you'll keep it to yourself. And somebody needs to know where I've gone just in case I don't come back." "North?" I asked flatly. "Where north?" "I'm going to present a man with a proposition and hear what he has to say. I should think you can fill in the rest of the story." "Uh-huh," I said, feeling myself turn cold. "That's not a very good idea, Sean. It's a big risk to take when the answer must be no." Sean's eyes were fixed very directly on mine. "You seem quite sure about the answer. How can you know such a thing?" "You're in danger if you go," I said bluntly. Sean scratched his head. "A warrior is always in danger. Send someone else if you are determined to contact this man. It is foolhardy to go yourself and alone. From what I've heard, this may be the only way to find him, to walk straight into the dragon's lair, so to speak." I shivered. "Your journey will be wasted. He will say no. You'll find out that I'm right." "A mercenary only says no when the price is not high enough, Leiden. I know how to bargain. I want the islands back. This man can win them for me." I shook my head. "This is no mere transaction. No simple purchase of services. It is quite different. There is death and loss in this, Sean. I've seen it." "Maybe, maybe not. At least let me put my theory to the test. And Leiden, this is a secret. That goes without saying. Even Aisling believes I'm traveling home. Keep it so, and thus, you know." "Sean," I hesitated, not sure how much I might say. yeah, that's what it said. Women get like that when they're breeding. I would not suggest putting that in any modern characters. They should not speak that way. But let's remember this is a period piece. "What?" Sean frowned. "I will keep this to myself, of course. And I must ask that if you find the man you seek, you will speak to him only of your proposition and not of other things." Now he was really scowling, his eyes fierce. "Please, Sean, I am your sister, please. And do not jump to conclusions." He looked as if he'd like to pick me up and shake the truth out of me, but Aisling was returning and he gave a reluctant nod. "I can't help jumping to conclusions, but I think they cannot be correct. They are altogether too outrageous." Yes, how are you doing, Grey Young? And welcome back. Yeah, Dancing Stitch too. Got all of the emotes. We're reading Son of Shadows by Juliette Marie. You guys want to see the cover? We have actually made a pretty good dent. We're about halfway. The next day, Sean was gone, and I said nothing, but I feared for him, knowing he sought out the painted man and his band to buy their services. After Bran's repudiation of all I held dear, my mother and father, my very name, I could not believe he would give Sean a hearing. More likely my brother would walk into some sort of trap. Likelier still, he would simply never be able to find them. Wherever he went, they would always be one step ahead. Besides, hadn't the men in green said Bran was far away over the sea? My vision had shown him in some distant place under strange trees. Probably they were all gone. Gull, snake, spider, all the motley band of warriors. If so, that was good. That meant at least that my brother would come home safe, if disappointed. Meanwhile, there was Neve. I did not know how to tell her what I had seen in her thoughts. But as it happened, there was no need, for the truth came out in a few days, despite her efforts to conceal it. It was not long before dusk, and I was restless, finding the closed environment of She-Duve oppressive, longing already for open air and trees and water. I had left Neve to her own devices and gone up to the heavily guarded walkway around the circular fortress wall, high above marshes and settlements, high enough so that if you looked eastward you could glimpse the edge of the Forest of Seven Waters, a gray-blue shadow in the distance. Slowly I made my way right around, pausing here and there to look out through the narrow gaps in the stonework. Mere slits formed so that an arrow might be shot without the archer being exposed to a returning shaft. I was not tall enough to see over the parapet. It was designed to protect a man standing, and I am small, even for a woman. The guard posts, set high with steps leading up, and themselves well fortified, gave a vista all around. I charmed my way into the northern one and was allowed to step up and look. Rabbit's often referred to herself as having pregnant brain. That's funny. The man in charge rumbled about Lord Aemon and what the rules were, and I smiled sweetly and said how brave they all must be, and what a risky job they did, and how I was sure Aemon wouldn't mind them showing me the view just this once. But if they were worried, well, I wouldn't tell them if they didn't either. The 3 guards grinned and set about educating me on what was what. Look up northward, my lady. It's not so very far to those hills, dry land that is, with some cover. But you can't go straight across, too treacherous. Sucking bog, you see, nightmare stuff. Means you have to go all the way around, said the second man. Back the way you came in, east to the crossroads, then north again, double back. Adds half a day moving on foot, till you get past to the pass. Of course, there's a way straight across, a quick way. The first man gave a mirthless chuckle. It's quick, all right. Quick to drag you under if you set a foot wrong. Wouldn't catch me trying that way, not if my life depended on it. The third guard was somewhat younger, not much more than a lad, and he spoke diffidently. Go out there at night and you'll hear the call of the banshee across the boglands. Fair curdles your innards, foretelling another death. Another soul the Dark One sets her cold hand on. But there is a quick way across, I asked, staring out over what appeared to be a continuous stretch of marshland all the way to the distant line of low hills in the north. Quick and secret. Lord Aemon uses it and some of the men. There are only a handful who know. Step by step, single file. Have to remember every part of it, 2 to the left, 1 to the right, and so on, or you're gone. Was this the sort of place where that mercenary, you know the one, they call him the Painted Man, where he set up upon our men and slaughtered them like quarry in a hunt? Not this place, my lady, but another much like it. How he learned the way, the Morrigan only knows. A curse on them murdering scum. We got one of them, at least, said the first man. Got one of the butchers later on, spilled his guts for him. Me, I wouldn't be satisfied until they're all dead and buried, said the other. Only burial's too good for them, especially the one they call the chief. Black-hearted that man is, evil through and through. Tell you something, he'd be a fool to set so much as his little toe on my lord's land again. Desset and Sadby. Excuse me. I slipped between them, out of the guard post and down the steps to the walkway. Sorry, my lady. Hope we didn't upset you. Men do talk plain, you understand. No, it's all right. Thank you for explaining. Take care walking back, my lady. Stones are a bit uneven here and there. No place for a woman, this. When I got back to the bedchamber, the door was closed. Yeah. Aw, thank you, Val. You are so sweet. You're just giving all of the teeny deenies tonight. Thank you. I gave it a push, but something was blocking it. I pushed harder and the door opened halfway, dislodging a small chest that had been set behind to keep it shut. A large pan had been carried to the room and water for bathing. Neve heard me and grabbed for a cloth to cover herself, but it was too late for her to hide. I had seen. I stepped inside very quietly and closed the door behind me. I stood there staring at the bruises that covered every part of my sister's body. I saw how her once buxom fair-skinned form had shrunk and faded, so that her ribs stuck out and her hip bones jutted beside her sunken stomach as if she were starving. I saw how the long shimmering hair that had once cascaded down to clothe the curves of her womanhood was now hacked off crudely to the level of her chin, the ends ragged as if severed with an angry sawing of the knife. It was the first time I had seen her without her veil since she had come home from Tyrconnell. Without a word, I walked over and, taking the cloth from her shaking hands, placed it around her shoulders, shielding her poor, damaged body from the light. I took her hand and helped her from the bath, and sat her down on the bed as she began to weep, at first softly, and then with great hiccuping sobs like a child. I did not try to hug her. She was not ready for that, not yet. Yeah, uh-oh. I found fresh small clothes and a plain gown and got her into them. She was still weeping when we were finished, and I found my comb and began to draw it carefully through the tattered remnants of my sister's lovely hair. Is it a bad... Are we really? Is it cutting out? Oh no! Is it cutting out? I hope not.
Castle gave me a gift.
Film?
The symbol of shutting up.
The symbol of shutting.
Good night, Val. Rest well. I don't know if she's already gone, but I just saw she said good night.
I hope everyone is having a great night. Yes, thank you.
Also,
Did she say she was going?
Oh, never mind, never mind.
You can get symbol of avarice.
Is it Twitch?
No,
'Cause
that was on TikTok. I misread it. That was my fault.
It looks like everything's up. It was choppy for you? Okay, so it was also Milu, so we'll make sure that it's fine. We just set everything up, and Aaron got us that new router and everything. We just can't win. The symbol of shutting up, please keep it away from me.
Yeah, it might actually kill Maddie.
It's true. If Maddie couldn't speak, what would he do? He wouldn't be Maddie anymore. Okay. Is it okay now? Alright, I'm sorry you're not feeling well, Molly. Please sleep well and get some rest. And I hope you're feeling better tomorrow. It was laggy for a bit. Okay. Seems like it's okay. I'll just try to peek up every now and then. If I'm a vampire, that's a silver stake, yeah. After a while, the sobs subsided and her words became more coherent. And what she said was, "Don't tell. Promise me, Leodin. You mustn't tell any of the family. Not even father or mother. Not Sean. Especially not the uncles." She gripped me by the wrist, quite hard, so that I almost dropped the comb. "Promise, Leodin." I looked directly into her big blue eyes, which brimmed with tears. Her face was ashen, her expression full of fear. "Did your husband do this, Neve?" I asked quietly. "Why would you think that?" she snapped immediately. "Someone has done it. If not Fian himself, then who? For surely your husband could protect you from such abuse." Neve drew a shuddering breath. Wait.
Sorry.
You're good.
Also, Oonagh was a good boy for the first time in forever.
Yeah.
He laid in there staring at that cat food on the ground. Didn't
And
touch
didn't
it.
eat it.
He loved it. He was like, I don't know.
Oh, thank you, Val. Yeah, it's a fun one. It's actually different on TikTok right now than it is for the other. It's kind of more like an illustration. It's cute. It's my fault, she whispered. I've got everything wrong. Everything. It's a punishment. I stared at her. But Neve, what could cause Fian have to do such a thing? Why hurt you so terribly? Why cut off your hair? Your beautiful hair. The man must be mad. Neve gave a shrug. She had become so thin her shoulders were as bony and frail as our mother's under the soft blue wool of her gown. I deserved it. I made one mistake after another. I'm so clumsy and stupid. I am a disappointment to him and a failure. No wonder Kjaran... Her voice cracked. No wonder Kjaran went away and didn't come back for me. I was never any good. This was such utter nonsense I was tempted to speak to her sharply, as I would have once done, to tell her to stop being silly and to count her blessings. But this time she really believed her own words. There were bruises and scars not just on the tender flesh of the body, but deep in the spirit, and no quick words would heal those wounds. Why did he cut your hair? I asked again. She put her hand up to run it through the crudely shorn locks, as if she herself could not quite believe that weight of silken gold was gone. He didn't, she said. I cut it. I stared at her. But why? I asked, incredulous. Neve had always looked after her hair, knowing without vanity that it was one of her chief beauties. And while she had sometimes railed at being made in the mold of her father, so clearly a Briton, she nonetheless liked the way her long tresses shone bright in the sun and flew out around her as she danced and caught the men's eyes. She had washed them in chamomile and tied them with flowers and silk ribbons. I don't think I can tell you, my sister said in a very small voice. I want to help you, I told her. I was mindful of what I had been shown before, when her thoughts were revealed to me. Still, far better that she told me herself willingly. Already once she had believed me a spy. But I can't help you if you won't tell me what this is all about. Did your husband find out about Kjaran? Was that it? Was he angry that you had already laid with a man before your wedding night? She shook her head miserably. What then, Neve? A man cannot beat his wife thus and be left unpunished. Under the law you could seek to divorce him on such grounds. Liam would pursue this for you. Father would be outraged. We must tell them. No, they must not know. She was shaking. This is crazy, Neve. You must let your family help you. Why would they help me? They hate me, even Father. You heard what he said to me. Sean hit me. They sent me away. After that, we sat there silent for a while. I waited. She twisted her thin fingers together and picked at the fabric of her gown, and gnawed at her lips. When she did speak at last, her tone was flat and final. You're going to sleep, Mary Beth? All right, good night. Sleep well. I'll tell you. But first you must promise not to tell Father or Liam or any of the family. Not Eamon or Aisling either. They are almost family. Promise, Leiden. How could I promise such a thing? You must, because it's all been wrong, all of it. And if you tell, it will wreak the alliance. And then I will have failed at that as well, and disappointed them all again. And they will all despise me even more than I do now. There will be no point at all in going on. No point. I might as well take the knife to my wrist and finish it, and I will if you tell. I will, Leodin. Promise me, and swear it. She meant it. As her words spilled out, there was a terror in her eyes that was real and chilling. I promise, I whispered. Realizing this vow left me all alone, cut off from any help I might have sought. Tell me, Neve, what has gone wrong? I thought, she said, drawing an uneven breath. I thought it would be all right in the end. Up to the last moment, somehow I still believed Ciaran would come back for me. It seemed impossible that he would not, that he would let me be wed and sent away and not attempt to intervene. I was so sure he loved me as I loved him. But he didn't come. He never came back. So I thought. Take your time, I said gently. Father was so angry with me, she said in a threat of a voice. Father, who never raises his voice to anyone. When I was little, he was always there, to pick me up when I fell, to keep us all safe and happy. When I was upset, I always went to him for a hug or a kind word. When things went wrong, he always made them better. Not this time. He was so cold, Leodin. He never even listened to me or Ciaran. He just said no, without any reason for it. He sent me away forever, as if he never wanted to see me again. How could he do that? That's not quite fair, I said quietly. He is very worried about you now, and so is Mother. If he seems angry, perhaps it was because he wants to protect her from these things. And you're wrong about not listening. They did listen to Ciaran, at least. Connor said it was Ciaran's own choice to leave the forest. He said it was a journey to find his past. Neve sniffed. What use is the past if you throw away a future? She said bleakly. So you were hurt by what Father did, and then you went to Deir Connell. What next? I just couldn't do it. I meant to get it right. I thought, too bad for Ciaran. If he didn't love me enough to come back for me, then I'll marry another man and make a new life, and show him I don't care. Show him how I can manage without him. But I couldn't, Leodin. I waited, and she told me so clearly it was as if I could see them, Neve and her husband, there in a bedchamber again. There had been so many such scenes since she found she could not pretend. I need to see how much of this I can read aloud without damaging anyone's sensibilities. You know how intense this writer likes to get, so I need to be careful. Let's just say Neve did not particularly enjoy her wifely duties. After getting married to Fionn. What are you doing? This cat is like burrowed into a little... it's not so much a spicy scene as it's, there's some abuse going on here, so it's sensitive. Her husband basically forced himself on her, so he said some nasty things that are not, probably not good to say aloud on camera. So, things did not go well. Neve definitely got into a depression after that. It's what caused her to cut her own hair off. Yeah. It was nice. We'll just leave it at that. Yeah, boo to him. We'll just have to hope he gets his comeuppance. I thought, you see. I thought there was no point anymore, Neve said. Everything must be for a reason, or I might as well be dead. Why would I be punished unless I deserved it? If he hurts me, it is because I am worthless. Why bother with the pretense? Why try to be more beautiful? Folk used to call me that once, but it was a lie. I love Kjarn more than anything in the world, and he just turned his back and left me. My own family cast me out. I don't deserve happiness, Leodin. I never did. My mind was full of rage. If I had had a knife in my hands and the Fian Uinil had been in my sight, there was not a thing that could have stopped me from plunging my weapon into his heart and giving it a good twist. If I had had a mercenary or 3 handy and a little bag of silver to pay them with, I would have felt a grim satisfaction in ordering his execution. But I was here at Shidoof, and Fian was my brother's ally and Liam's. I was here with my sister, who now opened her eyes and turned to face me so wretched, so helpless and frail, that I knew anger was of no use whatever, not at this moment. I wanted to take her by the shoulders and give her a good shake and say, "Why didn't you stand up for yourself? Why didn't you spit in his arrogant face and give him a well-aimed kick for good measure? Or if you couldn't manage that, why not just walk away?" For I knew that if I had been in her place, I would never have stood for such treatment. I would sooner be a beggar woman scavenging by the roadway than let myself be debased thus. But somehow in Eve's mind, it had all been turned around. It had been neatly twisted so that she believed everything Fian told her. "Hello, how are you, Frost?" "How are you?" "Yeah, horrible husband." "Yeah." I'm gonna just refrain from doing anything that's too sensitive, but I'm trying to make sure you get enough that you understand the gist of what happened. "Yeah, we're doing well, thank you." Her husband said it was her fault, so it must be. Now Neve was all but swallowed up by the ugliness of what had to be done to her, and we all bore the blame for it. The men of our household had sealed her fate when they sent her away from 7 waters. Even I was guilty. I could have fought against her banishment, and I had not. "Lie down, Neve," I said gently. "I want you to rest. Even if you cannot sleep, you are safe here. This place is so well guarded, the painted man himself could not hope to breach its defenses. Nobody can touch you here, and I promise you, you need never go back to your husband. You will be safe, I promise, Neve." "How can you promise such a thing?" she whispered, resisting my hands as I tried to ease her down onto the pillow. "I am his wife. I must comply with his wishes. The alliance, Liam, there is no choice. Leodin, you said you would not tell." "Shh," I said. "I will find a way, trust me. Now rest." "I can't," she said shakily. But she did lie down, one cheek pillowed on one slender hand. "As soon as I close my eyes, the things come back. I cannot shut them out. I'll stay with you." I was hard-pressed to keep back my own tears. "I'll tell you a story, or talk, or whatever you like. I'll sing to you if you want." "I don't think so," my sister said with a shadow of her old asperity. "I'll just talk then. I want you to listen to my voice and think about my words. Think only of the words, and see only what I speak of. Here, let me hold your hand. That's good. We're in the forest, you and me and Sean. Remember the broad path under the beech trees, where you can run and run, it seems forever. You were always ahead, always the quickest. Sean would do his best to catch you, but he never quite could, until you decided you were too old for such things. I came last, because I was always stopping to look for berries or pick up a skeleton leaf or listen to the hedgehogs snuffling in the bracken, or try to hear the voices of the tree people high overhead." "You and your tree people," she sniffed in disbelief, but at least she was listening. "You're running, barefoot, feeling the breeze in your hair, the soft dry leaves under your feet, running through the shafts of light where the sun slants through the branches, where it catches the green and gold of the last leaves of autumn, keeping precarious hold. And suddenly you reach the lake shore. You're warm from your running and you walk out into the water, feeling its coolness lap around your ankles, the soft mud under your feet. Later on, you lie on the rocks with Sean and me, and we put our fingers in the water and watch the fish slip by, silvery bodies half concealed by the glint of sunlight on the surface of the lake. We wait for the swans to fly down to the water, one leading, the others following, gliding down in the gold of late afternoon to land swish, swish, white wings folding neatly as the water receives them. They float like great ghosts out on the ripples as dusk creeps across the sky. I went on like this for a while, and Eve lay quiet. But she was awake, and I saw enough of her mind to know despair was never far from the surface. Leiden, she said, as I paused for breath. Her eyes opened and they were anything but calm. What is it, Neve? You tell of times past, of what was good and simple. Those times can never come back. Leiden, I'm so ashamed. I feel so dirty, so worthless. I have done everything wrong. You don't really believe that, do you? She curled herself up, one arm around her body, a fist against her mouth. It's the truth, she whispered. I have to believe it. There was a tap at the door. It was Aisling, come to see if all was well, for it was nearly supper time and we had put in no appearance. I spoke to her quietly, saying Neve was very tired and asking for a little food and drink on a tray, if it was not too inconvenient. Soon after, a maidservant brought bread and meat and ale, and I took it and thanked her and shut the door firmly behind her. Neve would not eat or drink, but I did. I was hungry. The child was growing. I could see clearly the slight swelling of my belly now, could feel the increased heaviness of my breasts. Soon the changes would be visible to all. But Neve did not know. Perhaps nobody had thought to tell her. Leiden, she said, so faintly I could hardly hear her. I upset Mother. I hurt her when she and I didn't even know. Oh, Leiden, how could I not see? Hush, I said, struggling to hold back my own tears. Mother loves you, Neve. She'll always love us, no matter what happens. I wanted to talk to her. I wanted to, but I couldn't. I couldn't make myself do it. Father was so stern. He hated me for upsetting her, and it would all be all right in the end. See if it isn't. Foolish confidence that was. How could I make it right if those who had been so strong now seemed cut adrift like leaves tossed helpless before the willful gales of Manfowler? Perhaps that was part of the old evil they spoke of. Something so bad and so powerful it set all awry. Still, I soothed her. And at length she lay quiet again, her fists still clenched. I remembered what Finbar had shown me, how he had filled my mind with joyful images and peaceful thoughts to make me better. He had said I must learn to use the healing gift. Perhaps it was for no more than this, to ease my sister's rest. So I did as I had before. Imagined I were Neve lying there rigid on the bed, trying to shut out the world. I let my mind slip into hers, but this time I kept control, so that I remained Leiden, able to find answers and able to heal. I lost the chat on TikTok. What? Maybe I just lost TikTok altogether. What? No? Well, I guess it's possible the little notification came up, but it comes up on the other computer and Castle's not there. Or he is there. Did you see it? Did I lose
didn't.
TikTok?
It didn't pop up.
It didn't pop up?
It didn't.
But I lost it, right?
Yeah, it is down, but it was nothing up.
Oh, weird.
Well, let's take you back live then.
Either? Are you? You're like a floppy little noodle. Yeah. Just give us a moment. I guess you could do a Twitch ad.
You are back on TikTok though.
Okay, good.
We
Let's
can
see.
we can run a quick ad while we're waiting for everybody to trickle back in on TikTok though.
There we go. Huzzah! Got it back. I claim no responsibility for the goblins. Okay. We know it's your fault. No, just kidding. It happens. Yeah, we're back. Sorry. I guess the little notification didn't ping up for Castle, who's watching all that stuff on the other side. Do the magic tentacle dance quick. Yeah. Thank you for the roses. I'm glad I caught it before I kept going. Yeah, the magic tentacle dance. You guys are funny. It worked. Is the ad still going? I don't know.
No, the ads. You're good. You got 30 minutes without ads.
Okay, cool. Then we shall continue. What's for dinner? I ate some french fries. Which is not actually dinner. I'm gonna have to eat something for real when I'm done. I'll probably have a salad. But yeah, we can go ahead and continue now that we got TikTok sorted out. It was not like that other night when Bran had gripped my arm fit to break it. His mind had cried out to me like a frightened child's. But there were things I saw that I would have given much not to know. I experienced with my sister the degradation, the ridicule, and the violence. Before they were wed, Fian had seen her beauty and heard of her virtues. She had indeed once possessed both in abundance. But he had not reckoned with Ciaran and the fact that Neve's heart and her body had been given already when she wed him. With a little strategy and with a little flirting and play, she might have been able to start on the right footing. She might have been able to please her husband. It is cruel for any woman to have to deceive in order to protect herself, but many have done so, no doubt, and so made their own existence at least tolerable. But not my sister. She had not been capable of the play acting required for survival, and Fian was not a patient man. I felt the blow of his hand and of his belt as she had. I felt the indignity of being used when I was unwilling, and I knew her shame, although the fault was not her own. All hail the French fry, oh my god. After a while, I started to make my own presence known in her tangled thoughts. I showed her a younger Neve, the flame-haired girl who had whirled around in her white dress and longed for a life of wild adventure. I showed her the child running fast as a deer on a carpet of fallen leaves. I showed her eyes as blue as the sky, and the warmth of the summer sun in her hair, and the look on Ciaran's face as he gave me the little white stone and said, "Tell her, give her this." He loved her. Perhaps he had gone away, but he loved her. Of that I was sure. I could not show her the future. For that I could not see myself. but I bathed her mind in love and light and warmth, and her hand relaxed in mine as the candle burned lower and lower. She was asleep, snoring gently, relaxed as a small child. Very slowly, very carefully, I withdrew my mind from hers and, tucking the blanket around her bony shoulders, stood and stretched, feeling the ache of utter exhaustion in every part of my body. Finbar had spoken true. One did not perform such work without a cost. I walked unsteadily to the narrow window and looked out over the courtyard, thinking I must reassure myself that the real world was still there, for my mind was full of evil images and confused thoughts. I was drained of energy and very close to weeping. Blow the raspberry horn. Oh, hey, Myco Psycho. Thank you for the raid, and I can only pretend to blow the horn, because I do not have the skill of blowing this horn successfully. Yeah, I don't know if it's a fun day Sunday, but it's been mostly good. So yes, we'll pretend that I blew the horn for you, Myco. I know, I'm terrible. I have tried to do it.
Just pick it up and say toot into it.
Toot. Yeah, I've tried. It's sad every time. It's the thought that counts, yeah. Bolas the Barbarian, did you come in with Myco Psycho? Alright. We are partway through, what are we on, chapter 9? Heartfelt talent or no talent? Yeah, definitely no talent with that. We'll have to leave that to Castle. Yeah, we need a recording of Castle blowing the horn for these occasions. I suppose I could do that. We could do or we could make a gif or gif, however you want to say it, of him. Just swung by for a hello. Your sad Sunday's over? Aw. There's still a little bit of Sunday. At least if you're where we are. Blows the raid horn for Castle. There you go. Thanks, Maddie. Alright. Oh, you gotta wake up early? That's not fun. That is not fun. I can empathize, for sure. The moon was waning, a thin crescent in a dark sky full of scudding clouds. Down in the courtyard there were torches burning, and I could see dimly the forms of the ever-present sentries on patrol, both below and high above on the walkway. All night they maintained their guard. It was enough to make you feel like a prisoner, and I wondered how Aisling and the rest of the household could stand it. I stared out into the night sky, and my mind reached beyond the stone walls of the fortress, beyond the marshes, beyond the lands to the north. I was bone-weary, so tired I longed for someone to put strong arms around me, to hug me and tell me I had done my best, and that everything was going to be all right. I must indeed have been exhausted to allow myself such weaknesses. I gazed into the dark, and my mind pictured those men around their cooking fire, listening enraptured as I told the tale of Cuchulainn and his son Conlai, a tale of great sadness. And I thought, Fianna they may be, but I would rather be there than here. That much I know. I closed my eyes and felt hot tears begin to flow down my cheeks. And before I could stop myself, my inner voice cried out, "Where are you? I need you. I don't think I can manage without you." And at that precise moment, I felt the child move for the first time inside me. A little flurry as if he were swimming, or dancing, or both. I laid a hand gently on the place where he had made himself known, smiling. "We're leaving here, son," I told him silently. "First we help Neve. I don't know how, but I have promised, and I must do it. Then we go home. I have had enough of walls and gates and locks. bold words. Not that I imagined Neve would come back to herself easily or quickly. If hope is gone, the future becomes barely worth contemplating. It was as well I carried my child within my body and felt his will for life with every fluttering movement, or I might myself have been drawn into the pit of her despair. The days passed, and the time came nearer when Eamon and Fian would return to Shidúv, and I must go home. Neve remained insubstantial as a wraith, eating and drinking barely enough for survival, speaking only when the demands of basic courtesy made it essential. But I could see her small signs of change in her. She was able to sleep now, as long as I sat by her bed holding her hand until she drifted off, and these times on the margin of consciousness I found to be the best for slipping into her mind and gently pushing her thoughts toward the light. She would not come out walking with me around the top of the wall where the guards were, but she did come down to the courtyard, well covered in long-sleeved gown and matronly veil, and went with me between armory and grain store, smithy and stables. She was very quiet. To go out amongst folk seemed an ordeal for her. I read in her thoughts how unclean she felt, how she believed they were all watching her and thinking her a slut and ugly, how they were whispering among themselves that it was just as well, after all, that Lord Eamon had not wed her as they had once expected he would. Still, she walked with me and watched as I greeted this one and that, giving my opinion on their ailments, and the exercise brought a little more color into her pallid cheeks. On wet days we explored the inside of the fortress instead. Sometimes Aisling went with us, but more often than not she was occupied in kitchens or storerooms, or deep in negotiation with household steward or lawman. She would be a good wife for Sean, a balanced, orderly complement to his bold energy. Shidúv is indeed a strange dwelling. I wondered greatly at the character of Aemon's ancestor who had chosen to settle here in the very center of the inhospitable marshlands. He had certainly been a man of imagination and subtlety, perhaps a little eccentric, for the place had many oddities. There were the carved pillars in the main hall, with their fanciful beasts grinning down, small dragon, sea serpent, and unicorn. And there was the construction of the fortress itself with its covered passage up from the gate, and the family's two-floor dwelling built against the inner wall. Never have I seen a house with more strange branching passageways, concealed openings and false exits, more trapdoors and secret ways and sudden treacherous wells. I had a chance this time to discover places I had never seen before, for I had been a child when I had last visited Aemon's home, and forbidden to wander too far. In my desire to keep Neve moving, for I knew the body must be healthy if the mind is to heal, I led my sister down the long covered way that wound around the hill from the main gate, snaking beneath the earthen rampart and stone walls to emerge into the courtyard. This path was always torchlit and alive with shadows, and many smaller ways led off on either side. Some were lined with timbers and some with stone. These Neve was reluctant to explore, but my curiosity had been aroused, and I went back later in the afternoon when she was sleeping. It was necessary to use some tricks I had learned from my father, which were to do with getting past guards unobserved to achieve this. I thought it best that nobody noticed my sudden interest in possible exits from the fortress, and made a decision to forbid such expeditions. I took a lantern and followed the branching ways to discover a storeroom for cheese and butter, like the caves we used for such a purpose at home. I found a small room that simply had no floor. There was instead a very long drop, and when I threw in a stone I counted to 5 before I heard a splash. And farther down the same way there were lightless cells, each holding a bench and shackles fixed to the wall. There were no prisoners, not now. The place was choked with cobwebs, unused for many years. Perhaps Eamon did not take captives. I was glad I had not brought Neve here, for the very walls cried out with despair. There was a dark hopelessness about the place that set a cold hand on my spirit. I retreated quickly, down disused cells, a black cat moving so fast I only just had time to see that it bore in its jaws a very large and very dead water rat. So there was a way to the outside. A narrow way, maybe too narrow for a person to squeeze in or out, but it was none the less a way. I need to see beyond stone walls. Expected. Don't you ever go out? I'd asked. Doesn't it drive you crazy being shut up all the time? Aisling raised her brows at me. People do go out, she said, puzzled. It's not a prison. Carts bring supplies and men ride across on patrol. There's more movement when Eamon's at home. And I suppose every cart is searched from top to bottom, going in and out. Not if it's our own people. Eamon says it's wiser. You can't be too careful these days. And he did say, she paused. What? I asked, looking her in the eye. She reached up to smooth her red curls behind her ear, looking slightly abashed. Well, Theoden, if you must know. He said he preferred if you and Neve did not go out while you were here. There is no reason for you to venture beyond the walls. We have everything here that you could possibly want. I did not like the thought of Eamon making rules for me, especially now that there was no possible chance of marriage between us. Did we lose it?
What happened?
I don't know, because it says that we're now streaming, like it cut out and then came back. Thank you, Sad Flower. It's right here, the baby. Honey, are you fixing it?
Yeah.
Okay.